Station 31. You read me? Found something in the ice. We need some help down here. Can anybody hear me? We found something. We found something. We found something.
12 men have just discovered something. For 100,000 years, it was buried in the snow and ice. Now it has found a place to live. Inside. Where no one can see it, or hear it, or feel it.
I know I'm human. Some of you are still human. This thing doesn't want to show itself. It wants to hide inside an imitation. It'll fight if it has to, but it's vulnerable out in the open. If it takes us over, then it has no more enemies. Nobody left to kill it. And then it's won.
You guys gonna listen to Gary? He can beat one of those things!
All right, so I kind of wanted to start this channel off by doing my review for The Thing, 1982 by John Carpenter. Uh, just kind of basically this time of year because every time it freezes, I have a tradition where I watch The Thing. It only really freezes here once, maybe twice a year. So it's kind of like, during around the holidays, everybody watches Die Hard, which I definitely do, and I recommend it as well. Uh, I can't praise this movie enough. When I was younger, I saw it on cable like some random Saturday or Sunday, and I thought it was awesome. A lot of the gore was taken out that I found out later once I rented it on VHS, actually. Um, and it's just spectacular. Like I said, I can't praise it enough. To me, it's probably the perfect sci-fi horror for me, tied with Alien, and I would also put the very underappreciated and underrated Event Horizon up there as well, as far as sci-fi horror goes. Um, just the synopsis, you basically have this team of American researchers in Antarctica. They're very isolated, and this incident happens. Basically, everything's kind of going as planned. Then all of a sudden, a Norwegian helicopter shows up shooting at this dog. The dog runs to one of the guys for help, and they take it in. They end up shooting the Norwegian who lands his helicopter after chucking grenades at the dog and starts shooting wildly at everyone too. They shoot him actually right through the goggles. Uh, and kind of hell sort of breaks out from there. Everything breaks loose, so they go and find the Norwegian station and figure out what the hell happened. And ironically, if anyone spoke Norwegian, they would kind of get the plot and the surprise from the whole movie from the get go. But nobody does, and even they don't show us the Norwegian in subtitles, even because it would have given away too much, I think, at that point. So they find the Norwegian station, and there's this big hole in this room. Looks like where they had something in there that was like kind of a block of ice. Then they read the maps and find out that Norwegians were using this dig site. And basically, what was in there was the ship that we saw, the UFO, the very beginning of the film. Very flying saucery, kind of, 50s looking. Um, and I guess it crashed in the ice in Antarctica and either was thrown out or crawled out. And like Kurt Russell's character, Greavy, Greavy, McGreevy, whatever his name is, um, McGrady, yeah, I don't know, said, and McGrady, yeah, I'm gonna stop. Um, so they found him that this thing usually is thrown out or crawled out, and they found it in the ice, and they took it back, of course, to their camp because that's what people do in horror movies. They find shit they shouldn't be messing with, and Either they try and wake it up or bring it back, and apparently it thawed out and woke up pretty pissed off. And this is not your typical kind of alien. It it's almost like a demon in the way it can possess people and turn into people. It can basically clone them. Um, and we find that out because go back to the point where they rescued the dog. Well, they put the dog in with their other dogs. Bad idea. It soon starts attacking these other dogs, shooting these tendrils out, things like that. And then, of course, they bring in the flamethrower. The flamethrower is used quite a bit in this movie, and it's pretty awesome because it does what it's intended to do. Uh, and they kill it, or they thought they did, or this one monstrosity. There's quite a few in this movie, and it kind of changes from each time it possesses something. Um, and then it moves on to people. Um, like I said, this movie's got it all. It's got the horror element, definitely, suspense. It goes into isolation, like Antarctica. Even from the very beginning of the movie, before anything crazy happens, it shows Kurt Russell, the character McGrady, they call him Mac, uh, up in his cabin, and he's playing this like very 1980s version of chess, I believe, and he accuses it of cheating. So he just gets pissed, opens up the drive door, and dumps his scotch in there and smokes the machine. So you can kind of tell that everybody's kind of burned out and are ready to go home. They weren't expecting all this chaos. Uh, but yeah, the suspense is there, especially when they start mistrusting each other. They all start accusing each other of, who's the thing, who's the alien, once they know it can possess people. And they do a blood test, and it's got some great jump scares when they're doing a blood test, and they zap it with this wire, and like all the shit like flies out, and um, so it's got the horror element, sci-fi element. It's got great acting. Kurt Russell has this awesome hat. Um, yeah, it's fantastic. John Carpenter really hit it with this one. It's uh, it's great to watch when it's cold outside because even watching the movie makes you feel cold. Like they're all just kind of trapped in this snowy, apocalypse and trying to survive against this alien thing. Um, some other key people in it, Wilford Brimley, he's awesome. He goes nuts, and they have to kind of lock him up for a bit. Um, what's his name from They Live was in it. Not Roddy Piper, but the other dude. Um, he was in a lot of 80s movies at the time. Forgetting his name, I'll have to look it up again. But yeah, it's just great. I highly recommend it if you've never seen it. Um, it's terrifying. Like I said, it's got jump scares, but it doesn't just rely on that. It relies on suspense, paranoia, big time. Like who's it? Who's going to be next? And it acts differently when it's in different people. Like it's not completely obvious until like they attack it or it decides to attack someone. Um, one of my favorite scenes is when one of the characters they think he's dead, so they're trying to revive him actually using the AED, and this guy's hands go through his chest, and the chest turns into like this trap with like jaws that the creature made out of this guy's damn chest cavity, and then his head flies off, and then the head starts walking, and yeah, it's just great. If you, like I said, if you've never seen it, definitely give it a check. Um, Ennio Morricone, I think Morricone, uh, he was the music guy from all the Good, Bad, and the Ugly movies, the spaghetti westerns with Clint Eastwood. Ennio Morricone, Mer- Marcione. Anyways, I'm bad with names today. I apologize. Uh, so yeah, it's good. It's not as pronounced as it was in those spaghetti westerns, but it's definitely a very creepy, kind of subtle beneath the kind of goes along with the movie type score. It's never like right out in your face, and it doesn't get crazy like the Jaws theme or anything. Um, let's see what else. But yeah, it's one of my favorites. Like the cast is great, the acting is great, the writing, the effects, everything. Um, just the fact that you don't know who the creature is and what it's going to do, other than kill people and consume them. Um, Side note: the 2011 version, it's actually not a remake, and that might be a slight spoiler, but it's kind of a prequel, and you'll see that after watching it that it kind of leads into the original movie, and it's really good too. I mean, it's really hard for anything to bypass this one, the original 1982 one, but the remake does a pretty good job. Um, I was actually a pretty big fan of it. I like how they tied the two together, that it wasn't just a complete, like, total remake. Uh, so, yeah, that's it. If you haven't seen the thing, highly recommend it. I think they're about to, or maybe they already did, come out with a 4K version. I'm looking forward to that. I don't buy everything on 4K, but this is one I definitely want to get because the movie looks good as it is, but of course it is a little dated, being from 1982, the year I was born. Um, but yeah, the 4K versions, that's gonna be super crisp, and you get to see every detail, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So if I had to rate this movie out of 5 stars, I think I would give it a 5 because, like I said, it's hard to find a better sci-fi slash horror film.